we have that moon face that's sort of behind the water, maybe implying that it's not it wouldn't otherwise be visible. So it's almost like through your emotions, through the cups, that's how you get to the moon. That's how you get to that mystery. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Blushing Nerd Tarot. Decided to hop on this evening to try out some new setup stuff. I need to prepare for upcoming lives and just want to sort of solidify my setup here for when I do videos. So right now I have my down view, and obviously at some point I'll have the headshot view and everything else, but one thing at a time. So, but first, my upcoming live will be this coming Monday, the 29th, and that's at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Gerald's channel, Tarot Stash. So super excited about that. He's been very generous in offering to have me come on for a live with him. And as I said, it'll be my first. So hopefully all goes well. And that's part of the reason why I'm testing things out this way today. But I thought I'd come on and talk about this deck, actually. This is the Splendor Solis. See if we can catch the light on that gold. There we go. Splendor Solis Tarot, and that's by Marie Angelo. And this is a very much an alchemy based deck, or uses alchemy in the imagery, and part of that comes from the fact that this I believe the images come from an ancient text, alchemical text. So it did come with a nice booklet here. Others have done a walkthrough, so this won't be a walkthrough video. But I just kind of wanted to come on and chat, and haven't talked about this deck yet, so I thought this would be a fun one. So in any case, this is quite a nice book, as you'll see. I mean, everything, the quality on everything with this deck, and the packaging and everything is pretty amazing. It is mass market. I mean, this is available pretty widely. I believe I picked my copy up. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure where I got it. I was going to say Amazon, but I can't recall if that was truly the case or not. In any case, this system, so Miranda's Alchemical Journal, it talks about where some of the imagery came from, and some of it is drawn directly from that. So just some gorgeous images. It was published in 2019. This is a second edition from 2020. So this is the second alchemical deck, I guess you could say, sort of. The first one I got is the Rotamundi, which is not strictly alchemical. It's heavily based on the Kabbalah as well, which if you've read some, there's quite a few popular tarot books that have come out that talk about how the Kabbalah actually, it's very likely that it wasn't tied in with the original tarot in any way, just because of the timing. I guess the timing of the texts versus when the decks of cards were originally conceived, it just doesn't quite add up. But I don't know. I would say, there's so much going on in the symbolism and everything. I'm not an expert on on the Kabbalah or anything by any stretch. So, and I just don't know if we have enough information to make definitive statements like that. That they're not related because different people have been claiming different things. Um, so I'm not sure. But I do know in terms of books that have just oodles of information. Daniel Loeb's book here for this deck. I mean, this is a textbook on symbolism, the Kabbalah. It heavily relies on biblical passages throughout the entire thing, and it's a little dizzying actually trying to read this, because every other sentence has some sort of biblical reference, um, and it's tempting to. Although Daniel adds a lot of that information directly in line, so you don't have to have a Bible to reference or anything. Um, but I feel like when I'm reading this and when I'm trying to study from this deck, I often feel like I'm still missing a big chunk of information. I'm not quite sure how to fill that void. But the cards, you can see, of course, we have the RWS depiction of the Fool in set in this card that is full of other information. Some additional meanings here. So, in terms of quality, this is a shiny gold gilding, super thick cardstock. The feel of the cardstock is not particularly luscious like some other decks are, but it still is. It's still very nice. I think they made some really good choices with this because it has a matte feel to it. It has a great sound. Um, but in terms of use, so far this has not really come out of the realm of study deck for me, really very much. But anyway, I only brought that one up because it is something that helped feed my interest in acquiring the Splendor Solis. That, along with some walkthroughs. I think Simon did a walkthrough. It might have been the first time I saw this deck, and talk about luscious quality. If we're going to talk about just the tactile experience with cards, that cold stamping of that foil that frames the different elements of the card. It is a rose petal finish, which has mixed. I know the community is mixed on that. It does tend to make decks a little sticky when it comes to shuffling. I don't see this as a deck that you would typically shuffle very aggressively or look for speed in your shuffling. Maybe, at least I don't. But look, I mean, just the density of the images and information on this deck. It's really pretty incredible. And look at that blue. I mean, it's gorgeous. And I really like the goldish yellow backdrop. And that is used, I think, throughout. There are some examples that you can see in the majors and some other areas that don't really have quite the same framing, but that color is fairly pervasive. So you can see here too, we have the same sun image that is used for the backs. Non-reversible because of the direction of the face. That's fine. Doesn't bother me. However, so anyway, this is the Fool. And what would we look to in this card for our indications of that? Well, it's not terribly clear, but if we look at the Magician, that certainly has a magical feel to it. But I think this is a deck that you spend a lot of time with, and you gain a certain fluency with the way the artist depicts these different characters. And again, this is based on images that came from a text. So this is what I'm saying about the backgrounds not being the same, or the framing, but you still get that beautiful cold stamping, I believe they call it. But that foil that works on that entire image is just beautiful. This is the Emperor card, which may be found down there versus in that main image, may not necessarily be visible. This has gilding as well. You'll notice here, though, that separation, and you can see it on the sides. The cards are warped. They came that way. There was a tight band around the middle, and then it was splaying out on both ends, and that hasn't corrected yet. And I've actually considered, and I'd like to hear if anybody's had success with this as an option, but I've considered 4 decks like this, just to improve the experience of it, and make sure that the cards are all consistent, using an antique book press. So they have like a big hand wheel on the top. They're used in book binding, and they would just compress the deck, to hopefully remove some of that. But anyway, that gilding on this is really cool because it's the matte gold. So certain angles you'll get a glimmer, but just in general, it's like a very soft gold finish, which is also quite nice. So I will look to see what the book has to say about the Fool. So the manuscript of the Splendor Solis, which is shown here, manuscript of the Splendor Solis, Splendor of the Sun, from 1582. It's the pinnacle of illuminated alchemical literature. Okay. So just looking for our basis here, and we see here's an interesting way that the symbols, the element symbols, are dealt with here in terms of the art. Interesting that air and earth are the ones that have blue. Water, not so much, but that's fine. There may be more. So the Fool card. It says, I am the accomplishment, inner alchemy of the Fool, spirit of ether. I come that you may make a new beginning, knowing all that's needed for your own accomplishment is ready to unfold. Follow the vision and path of the Fool, and all shall be well. I am the artisan of the fiery, scintillating intelligence, ever becoming truth, bringing light to all travelers. Holding me in the mind's eye, the Fool steps out with trust to weave the first way. So will you, dear alchemist. Let sparks of interest light the fire, Enter my golden garden of musical harmonies. And we do get some reference here back to RWS again. Um, just a little nod to the magician from RWS in the page of text about the magician. Um, there's really a lot to unravel here, and actually that happens throughout. Flipping through the rest of this, even into the minors, we see that we get additional references and little picture reminders. That's really handy, actually, because the imagery is so much different. And really, once you get to the minors, without having titles in the cards, I would say it'd be probably nearly impossible to get to a point where you could comfortably just pick this up and say, for instance, oh yeah, that's the Ace of Cups. I mean, some of you may know this deck better and have worked with it for a while, and it would be obvious to you, but it's not where I am. So, Ace of Cups. Thankfully, it says that at the bottom, and then we get that additional point of starry water at the top. But again, that's nice. Then in the book, you get a little picture of the RWS card all the way through the entire deck. So you can, if you're familiar with RWS, if that's your system, then as you're reading this, you can easily cross-reference. And so when you're learning the book meanings, you have a base from which to operate. So quite an interesting deck. And in terms of shuffling, again, it's rose petals, so overhand shuffling, not super slick. They don't necessarily love to slide against each other, but it's fine. And actually, I'm not having really any trouble. I'm not sure if it would riffle, but I think I'll try it. Not terrible. My technique is terrible, but that went a lot better than I expected it to. So I think we can call it a success, because if you're halfway decent at riffle shuffling, you'll do much better than I did there. So very interesting deck. Be very interested in hearing from you if you have this, if you work with it on a regular basis, if this is something you use for readings in particular, to use this for readings with others, or to use it as more of a study deck. Look at that moon card. The face on that moon. And those dead trees in the foreground and the pink clouds. Pink sky at night, sailor's delight, I believe is the saying, correct? So is this telling us there are good things to come? Interesting when you think about that, compared with RWS and, well, in Marseille and others that use a similar depiction of the moon. But we have a little bit of a stream there in the foreground, and we have that one stump that's sort of outstretched. We have that moon face that's sort of behind the water, maybe implying that it's it wouldn't otherwise be visible. So it's almost like through your emotions, through the cups, that's how you get to the moon. That's how you get to that mystery. And if not for that, if you're not in touch with your emotions, or you're not willing to engage with your emotions, not open to experience, then maybe the mystery remains veiled. But this has a scene that would be good for path working, I would think, because it really has a sense of perspective. You have the close foreground, the middle ground with a nice shore there, and then the distant areas where the sun is still reaching a little bit. Hmm. And then on top of the main image, we still have everything on the outside that we can gaze at and think about too. The flora and fauna. I am the eclipse, inner alchemy of the moon, ruler of flux and reflux, child of the sons of the mighty. I come that you may dream true, replacing self deception with bright visions of change. I am artisan of the corporeal intelligence, consciousness forming each body throughout creation and the reproduction of them. All Venus Earth experiences in the four worlds are woven into my alchemical path. I am the moon's inward vision of rising in perfect alignment between Earth and Sun, invoking the mysteries of eclipse. My Piscean waters bring thus darkened, subtle Earth to the dreamlike transparency of the alchemical solucio. Deep down, instinctual powers are revealed, moved by the animate, occulting moon, who yet wears the sun's golden crown. Hmm. Prepare well for sleep. The moon will teach lucidity, bringing you to my treasure house as an adept, able to release images from illusion into their true and beautiful forms. Hmm. Interesting. So, that is Splendor Solis Tarot. Quite nice. Definitely still available for purchase. I will see if I'll locate where I purchased it from, whether it was the creator's website or the publisher direct. I for some reason I am thinking maybe that was the case. So I will look it up and I will link it below. I highly recommend it if you're someone that also likes to nerd out on tarot. Um, it it just has some depth to it that it's non-traditional. It's something you can really dive into card by card and put some quality study time into. So I think that's all I have for now. So I really appreciate you watching. Again, if you are watching this sometime before the 29th of June, 2022, and you want to catch a live, head on over to Tarot Stash. I'll link that channel as well. And you can see he and I chat for my first live. So thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.